Welcome to After Dark Stories. Here we explore the natural and supernatural. If you like these multi-part videos, please subscribe, as I will be posting full stories and episodes. Here we explore the natural and supernatural. If you like these multi-part videos, please subscribe, as I will be posting full stories and episodes. But don't worry, each story has its own playlist just for your pleasure. Now sit back, relax, and let's explore the unknown. The Haunting of Room 303. Chapter 1. The Odd Beginning. It was a chilly autumn morning when Class 7A clambered into Room 303. The leaves outside were turning vibrant shades of orange and gold, and a feeling of restless energy hung in the air. Little did they know this particular school year would be anything but ordinary. The classroom, with its flickering fluorescent lights and worn wooden desks, was an unassuming place. It had a reputation for being one of the oldest rooms in Maplewood Middle School, nestled on the third floor, far from the newer, more modern classrooms. It was a room filled with history and whispers, but those were things that 7A would soon come to understand in ways they could never have imagined. Mr. Dan, their teacher, was a young man in his early 30s. He had a contagious enthusiasm that inspired his students to engage with the lessons he brought to life. Today, he stood at the front of the classroom with a lopsided grin and an old-fashioned globe under his arm. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice vibrant. "Today, we're going to explore some exciting geography. But first, I've got a story to tell you." The students settled into their seats, eyes wide with curiosity. "This room," he began, gesturing around dramatically, "has something of a reputation. Some say it's haunted." Laughter erupted through the room, but Mr. Dan continued undeterred. "Rumor has it, a student who once attended this school never really left. They've been known to play harmless pranks on unsuspecting classes over the years." "Silly ghost stories," someone shouted from the back, and the laughter echoed again. "Harmless pranks, indeed," Mr. Dan replied, smiling. "But we'll let our imaginations run wild on that front, shall we?" He turned to the globe, spinning it slowly. "All right, who can tell me where the Bermuda Triangle is?" As the lesson continued, no one noticed the faintest rustle coming from the back corner of the classroom, a small folding chair, moving ever so slightly, just enough to catch the eye of anyone looking closely. Chapter 2. A Subtle Presence. Days turned into weeks, and the stories of the classroom ghost became fodder for endless conversations among students. 7A found themselves bonding over the eerie tales, daring each other to stay behind after class to see if they could witness a supernatural event. But nothing happened. No chairs moved, no papers flew off the desks, and no cold spots formed in the room. However, the atmosphere shifted slightly. An air of mischief lingered, as if the ghost enjoyed the students' growing excitement. It was until the week of the first round of exams that things began to change in earnest. Tensions ran high, and the students were on edge. One particularly stressful afternoon, as the class prepared for a math test, a collective shudder ran through the room. The lights flickered ominously, and a cool breeze swept through the 303, despite the windows being shut tight. "Did you feel that?" Sarah, the class president, whispered to her best friend Mike, who nodded, wide-eyed. The others exchanged anxious glances. Mr. Dan, noticing the growing apprehension, chuckled to himself. "Looks like the ghost of 303 is trying to remind us to have fun during exams." The way he said it made everyone laugh nervously, dispersing the tension that had settled snugly around them. But that evening, as they packed up to leave, the laughter quickly faded. "Did you hear that?" whispered Greg, the quietest boy in the class. He nudged Sarah, his eyes darting to the shadows. "Hear what?" she asked, rolling her eyes but unable to shake a feeling of discomfort. "Like a whisper?" Greg stared at the far corner of the room where shadows flickered in the fading light. "Stop it, Greg," Sarah replied, though even she felt a prickle of unease. Chapter 3: The First Encounter. The next class was supposed to be a relaxed session, an afternoon visit to the school library for some research on historical figures. However, something shifted as soon as the class entered 303. The room felt heavier, as if holding its breath in anticipation. As Mr. Dan began to organize the students for their upcoming trip, a sharp bang echoed off the far wall. "Did you hear that?" Sarah exclaimed, pointing. The rest of the class froze, pupils wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Maybe Greg's right," Mike mumbled, his bravado fading. It was then that a shuffling sound began, subtle but undeniable. The small folding chair began moving again. "All right, point of order," Mr. Dan interjected, trying to keep spirits high. "If the ghost wants to join our adventure, they're welcome." "Can't we just leave already?" a girl named Jenna pleaded, her voice trembling. "No one's going to get hurt," Mr. Dan assured, though even he felt a sliver of uncertainty. "Let's just focus and carry on. Ghosts are just fun stories, after all." But as they prepared to leave, the ghost had other plans. Suddenly, papers on a nearby desk began to flutter rapidly, dancing as if animated by an unseen breeze. The commotion escalated, laughter turned to screams, and then, suddenly, everything went still, as though time had stopped for just a moment. "What just happened?" Mike asked, swallowing hard. He looked at the papers scattered across the floor, his heart racing frantically. A cold silence enveloped the room, punctuated only by the ticking of the old clock hanging on the wall. Sensing something special had transpired, Mr. Dan's gaze turned serious. "All right, class, don't panic," he said in a calm voice. "Let's figure this out. Clearly, something wants our attention. Perhaps we should learn more about the ghost." Chapter 4: Digging Deeper. Intrigued and a little terrified, the students began conducting informal research about the history of their school and the mysterious ghost. They gathered in small groups, trading stories and ideas. "The story goes," Sarah began, "that a boy named Tommy went missing during a field trip many years ago. He was last seen in room 303 before that trip. They say he loved geography and never wanted to leave school. Maybe he's still here." No one expected that a simple project would lead them deeper into the lore of 303, but they found plenty of accounts from past students who had experienced strange occurrences. "Let's go to the library," suggested Greg, a glimmer of determination igniting within him. "They must have some old records or newspapers about it." So, the next day, armed with a handful of increasingly wild theories and a spirit of adventure, they ventured into the dusty corners of the school library. The smell of old books filled their nostrils, and the sight of towering shelves set the stage for the next chapter in their ghostly investigation. With help from the librarian, they uncovered a dusty old newspaper clipping dated 20 years prior, revealing the tragic story of Tommy's disappearance. He had been just a few months shy of graduation when the incident occurred, and a search party had scoured the area, but no one had found him. "Tommy loved this school," Jenna said softly, running her fingers along the faded headline. "If it's really him, maybe he's just trying to reach out." The news hit the group hard, not just as a ghost story, but as a reminder of a real person's life cut tragically short. It made their ghostly encounters feel more personal. They spent the next few days sharing Tommy's story with one another, fostering curiosity and empathy rather than fear. Chapter 5. Confronting the Past. As the weeks rolled on and the haunted stories of Room 303 began to feel significantly more sincere, the students conjured a plan. They decided to confront Tommy, to communicate with the spirit and help him find peace. On a Wednesday afternoon, after school, they gathered in 303. Mr. Dan, intrigued yet still skeptical, agreed to stay after class to supervise. "What exactly are we planning to do?" he inquired, intrigued by the boldness of the 7th graders. "We'll let him know it's okay to move on," Sarah stated firmly, clutching the newspaper clipping in her hand. "We want him to know that he's remembered and loved." The atmosphere felt electric with anticipation as they dimmed the lights and arranged their desks into a circle. Each student held a piece of paper, each one bearing an affirmation of Tommy's spirit. They took a deep breath, centering their energies. "Tommy," Sarah began, "we're here to remember you. You were loved and you're not forgotten. If you're here with us, please show us a sign." An eerie silence blanketed the room, and their collective heartbeats seemed to play a syncopated rhythm echoing through the silence. Then the lights flickered again, but this time they didn't just flicker, they turned off completely. In the darkness, gasps filled the space as tension peaked. "Okay, maybe this was a bad idea," Greg whispered, nervously looking around. But then, just as suddenly, the lights returned, illuminating the classroom. The chairs had all shifted slightly, and an open notebook lay sprawled on the floor. "Did someone knock that off?" Mr. Dan asked, eyeing the chaotic scene. "I didn't touch it," Jenna exclaimed, her voice trembling with excitement. "What if that was him, the sign?" With cautious optimism lingering in the air, 7A gathered around the fallen notebook. As they approached it, they noticed that the pages flipped vigorously until they came to a stop on a drawing, a rough pencil sketch of the classroom, meticulously detailed, though in a faint childlike way. "That looks like 303, Sarah said, eyes wide with wonder. "It's almost like he's giving us a glimpse into his world." Chapter 6. The Final Encounter. The drawing ignited a curiosity, and the students felt a deeper emotional connection to Tommy than ever before. They decided to plan a special event, Tommy's Day, where they would celebrate his life, respected with history incorporated into their activities. Through this, they hoped to connect with him and give him the closure he might need. The day came faster than anticipated. They decorated 312-3 with drawings and messages of remembrance, mapping out the places Tommy might have enjoyed. The library, the science lab, even a makeshift alcove in the corner for his favorite book quotes. They organized a small feast, a picnic spread of snacks, all to honor the spirit of their unseen friend. As the sun set and the warm glow of golden light spilled into the classroom, they gathered together in a circle. "Let's say it together," Sarah suggested, her heart racing with excitement. "On 3. With unanimous agreement, they counted down. 1, 2, 3. "Tommy, we remember you." Almost immediately, the air shifted. The lights flickered, and the temperature in the room fell sharply. A gust of wind swept through the throat. A 3, 3 fluttering wings, flapping their decorations and sending whispers of ghostly energies spiraling around them. "Did you see that?" Greg gasped, tears of joy now brimming in his eyes. The world felt more alive, charged with palpable emotion. Then, one by one, the students began to share their thoughts, all directed at Tommy. They spoke words of compassion, relaying everything they had learned about him through their investigation. They made promises to remember him long after they left the school. As they poured their hearts out, the drawings fluttered and the atmosphere shifted. Each commitment forged a powerful connection, and the energy began to build. A palpable feeling crescendoing into a bright, glowing aura hovering in the center of 303. And then they felt it, an overwhelming sense of warmth, the kind that wrapped around you like a long-lost embrace. It washed over them, filling the room with an overwhelming peace. In that moment, they all understood that Tommy wasn't just a ghost haunting their classroom. He was a friend who'd been lost but now had found his way back through his story, through their connection, through love. Chapter 7, Moving On. Days later, the atmosphere of 303 shifted entirely. There was still a hint of magic lingering, but now it felt lighter, as if a burden had been lifted. The students couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction, relief even, that they had helped Tommy find peace. The ghost stories continued, but they were fewer and far between. The remnants of Tommy's presence registered as laughter and friendship instead of fear. The pranks that had once felt ominous transformed into harmless reminders of the bond they had shared. Mr. Dan, now understanding the depth of what they had experienced, incorporated the history of Tommy into his lessons. "Let's always remember," he would say, "the tales we tell and the lives we remember, not just for the fear they invoke, but for the connection they create." As the school year progressed, Class 7A became known not just for their academic diligence, but also for their heart. They continued to honor Tommy by sharing his story, creating art projects, and celebrating history lessons with his legacy. Together, they transformed Room 303 from a ghost story haunt into a space filled with light, laughter, and cherished memories. In a way, Tommy could finally enjoy the school he had loved, alongside a class that had not only remembered him, but also welcomed him back with open arms. Their bond as friends strengthened as they carried the spirit of Tommy with them, ensuring that no one, living or spectral, would ever feel forgotten again. And as the seasons changed and the leaves turned vibrant shades of red and gold once more, every student who entered room 304 felt a slight flicker of something special, a warm presence, and a whisper that said, "I'm here. Thank you." Epilogue: The Legacy in 303. Years later, Class 7A would often reminisce about their unforgettable experiences in room 303. A reunion brought them back to the school where nostalgia intertwined with laughter and warmth. As they entered 303 together, the air felt charged with familiarity and comfort. The room remained unchanged, yet they could feel a distinct aura of positivity that surrounded them. "Do you think Tommy is still here?" Jenna asked quietly, a smile adorning her face. "Absolutely," they chimed in unison, unable to suppress their laughter. With their memories floating around them like the golden leaves outside, the spirit of friendship, shared stories, and love surrounded them, forever a testament to a boy who never wanted to leave school, and a class that reminded him he was never truly alone. The enchanting tales they had spun in room 303 would carry into the future, planting seeds of kindness for every class to come. The legacy of Tommy's spirit, woven into the fabric of their memories, would continue to resonate through the laughter and shared experiences for generations. And so, 303 transformed from being a ghostly haunt into a place where friendships flourished, hearts grew, and the mystery of Tommy remained forever intertwined in the essence of Maplewood Middle School. A beautiful reminder that the connection to loved ones and memories never truly dies. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. This will really help the channel grow. Always stay safe, but most of all, stay curious. Until next time.